Happy Halloween! Hello tarantula lovers, I'm Alex and you're watching Tarantula Haven. What have I got for you today? Well, I was thinking about what to do for Halloween and I figured I wanted to do something spooky. So I thought about photography and I thought about tarantulas and I kind of mixed the two together. So one of the things that I've always wanted to do is I wanted to take a picture or take some pictures of one of my more defensive species, Heteroscodra maculata, also known as an HMAC or the Togo starburst baboon. This to me is a spooky thing. This is probably the only species that really worries me when I do anything outside of the enclosure with it. And the reason for that is because they are such a defensive species. They are always defensive. No matter what. It just seems like every time I go into the enclosure, they are going to put up a threat pose or they're going to bolt. And you know, it's not an easy thing to do or deal with because you always have that issue to worry about. So I've never really gotten any good photographs of her because it's always been inside the enclosure. Or when I'm doing an enclosure change, it might be where they are in a temporary enclosure and I take pictures of them then. But even at that, it's not a very good picture. So I've always wanted to do that with her. So I'm thinking about doing that today. Hopefully it will all go well. More than likely it will not because this species has a tendency to bolt or behave very defensively. So wish me luck on that. I'm also going to take a picture of, or take some pictures of my Poecilotheria regalis. And I love this species. They're a beautiful species, probably one of the most common Poecilotheria species in the hobby. But they have a tendency to be somewhat defensive, but they are a lot calmer, in my opinion, than the Heteroscodra maculata. So that one should go easier. And I might throw in one at the end of a New World species just to give you a basis of comparison of what the two are like and what you can expect from one and the other. So let me go ahead and show you some footage of me creating a backdrop for this video that deals with Halloween and what I put into it to kind of give it that spooky feel. So here we go. So I had some leftover wood from the hurricane, and with that wood I decided to make myself a backdrop for making scenery or making some scenes, kind of like making a little set for indoors that I can shoot pictures of my tarantulas or anything else with. I kind of don't like how it turned out. I don't know if you can see that right there. I made this bottom lip right here. I want to be able to put some substrate in there to kind of mimic, you know, just ground cover. And I think I made the lip a little bit too big, so I'm going to cut this down because I want to be able to get down to ground level and take some pictures that way. And I'm going to paint the backdrop right here a solid black color, but I'm going to add a little bit of greenery to it to kind of give it that false bouquet look, like there's some foliage back there or something to that effect. But I'm going to go ahead and cut that off right here because I don't like that, so I can get down lower when I take the shot. Alright, so now that I've cut the lip down to size there, I'm ready to go ahead and paint my backdrop, and I'll get started on that right now. Okay, so now that my black paint has dried, I'm ready to put down the foliage for the background to create a false bokeh. If you're not familiar with the term bokeh, it's a photography term. Literally, it means blurry in Japanese, and it means, you know, it represents that blurry background that you get when you're taking shots on a low aperture, and your aperture is really wide open, so it gives you that nice blurry background with that clear foreground. So I'm creating a false bokeh by creating a purposely blurry background that's going to even be more blurred when I take the picture. I like to start out with a white base on it, because painting a color directly on black will mute that color and make it even darker. So this white background kind of makes it stand out a little bit better. And I wanted to get a darker color green, but I couldn't find it in a matte finish or a flat finish, which is something that I forgot to mention before. You want to use flat colors that are not going to reflect light back, because of course you're going to be using lighting when you're taking pictures of your tarantulas and so on, especially if you're doing macro or if you're doing some you know, nicely tightly framed shots. So you don't want any light bouncing off your backdrop and giving it away that it's a false backdrop. So that's why it's important to use matte colors or flat colors. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down the white, and then I'm going to go over it with this, it's kind of an olive color. This is made for camouflage. Usually if you pick any of these camouflage colors, they're going to be nice and flat because they don't use reflective surfaces for camo. So what I like to do is just basically, I'm kind of laying down like camo. I'm just doing some stripes and making them purposely blurry so they're not going to be nice and solid dark stripes. And that way it gives that impression that there's foliage in the background, but that foliage is blurry. So now that that's dry, I'm going to go ahead and go over it with the green and just basically trace the white that I put down. So as a last step, if I feel there's any areas where I might have gotten too much overspray, then I can go back with the black and just cover up those areas and paint them black again, and that'll return the color back to the normal black that I wanted, and I can correct some of that overspray that I got in there. I just have to be careful not to do too much and paint right back over the stuff that I just painted. Okay, so there's my false bokeh background, and the cool thing about it is it's just spray paint. So if you feel like you didn't do a good job, then just paint it black all over again and start all over and try it again. I'm not real happy with the olive drab that I used on there. If I find a hunter green or something darker that is in matte or flat finish, then I'll probably go over it again and make it a little bit better, more to my liking. But I'll see how that goes, because you never know when you use your camera and you take that picture and you get that real bokeh on there and it blurs out this false bokeh, then it might look good. So if you're happy with it, then just leave it alone. But if you're not happy with it, then of course, you know, just repaint it, paint all over it, and start all over, and it'll maybe turn out nicer if you get better at it the next time. So now I'm just ready to decorate. I can just go ahead and put some substrate down here, add things, any props or anything that I want, and I can use it to put my tarantulas on it and take pictures, and it will give me a nice natural looking setting in an indoor setting. Okay, so I'm shooting in my garage, and I've got my HMAC right here, and the idea here is that I'm going to use my backdrop that I created, and I got some pumpkins set up and just a little Halloween decoration going on here. And what I want to do is I want to be able to pull my HMAC out and have it sit on a pumpkin or anywhere on here, just basically to get some pictures of her. I have not been able to get any decent pictures of her because they've always been in the enclosure, through the enclosure, And of course, that doesn't do it justice. They're beautiful. They're a beautiful species, but they are a very defensive species. So they're very difficult to get to sit still long enough that you can take some decent pictures with them. So I've got a few things set up here. I've got my little catch cup here that I'm going to try to use to get it out of there. I've got my tongs. I've got a little stick here that I can use to prod it, and my paintbrush, and so on. So hopefully if things go well, I can get her to pose for a little while, snap a few shots, and be done. But what's probably going to happen with HMAX, they have two modes. Usually they are trying to get away from you. When I try to get into the enclosure, sometimes they will go down as far as they can and try to bury themselves in the substrate. Or they will just completely bolt right out. I've had them come straight up and out of the enclosure. Sometimes from something just as simple as me pulling back the cork bark to get a look at them, and they will spook and they will run straight up and come at you in full defensive mode. But, you know, that's to be expected. This is a very, very defensive species. So it's not aggressive behavior. They're just very frightened. They're very, very scared and very skittish. So anytime you try to mess with them, they go full-on attack mode. They will first try to get it away from you as much as possible. But if they are cornered, they will be all fangs and legs ready to strike. And you know, that's why they're such a difficult species to deal with as far as anything out of the enclosure. If you're doing an enclosure change, if you are cleaning the enclosure or anything like that, it's always a big deal when you're dealing with HMAX. There's safe ways to do it, and that's what I tend to do most of the time. This is definitely not. I have tried to take a picture of the male that I had, and he's since passed away of old age, but it was pretty much a disaster. I had a thing set up like this, just different. I don't know if you probably see it behind me, but when I pulled it out, I tried to get it to climb on a stick so I can get some pictures in a natural looking environment. Didn't want anything to do with that. It completely ran around. I was chasing it the whole time, trying to catch it with the catch cup. And finally, I just managed to snap a few shots of it on the backdrop itself, and I was done because it was just too much trouble. It was not complying with anything that I wanted it to do. So, you know, I was lucky to get a few shots of it, and then, you know, I was happy with that. But again, I'm going to try to pose this one. It's probably not going to go the way I want it to, but that's just the nature of the beast right here, because they are incredibly defensive. So let's see how it goes, all right? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to try is I'm going to try to pull out the cork bark without spooking her too much, and hopefully get her with this bottle here that I can maybe coax her in, but that remains to be seen. We have this handy, and I will pull this back. She is right there on the side. And you want to be aware of where they are at all times, because they will surprise you when they just bolt out of nowhere. Alright, so I managed to successfully get the cork bark out. Now, I need to use the water bottle and go ahead and trap her in it. And that's going to be pretty difficult here. Alright, she's in. Now if I can just get her to climb up it. Oh yeah, the fangs are out. Yep. She's literally got a hold of the stick. Okay, she's climbing up. Alright, that's good. So next thing, I'm gonna put her in this cup and hopefully get her to calm down a little bit. So move this out of the way. Okay, so here she is inside of the bottle, and you can see how beautiful she is. Those color markings. She's got that nice chalky white color, almost a little bit of a peachiness to her abdomen there, and you can definitely see that starburst pattern on her carapace there. So that's what I'm trying to capture here. Okay, so I've given her a chance to calm down a little bit, and she's gone down to the bottom of the cup, so I'm going to try to coax her back up, which is probably going to make her mad all over again. But I'm going to see if I can lift it up a little bit and see if she'll come with it. And no, she's trying to stay down there. So I'm going to kind of poke her a little bit to get her to come back up. Come on. Yeah, she's not wanting to move, which is typical. She'll be stubborn. Here we go. And she's moving nice and calm. So if I stay calm, hopefully she'll stay calm. And I won't have an angry spider on my hands. Come on. Yeah, she's facing down. Come on, girl. Come back up. There she goes. She's backing up. Alright, let's see if I can work this out. There she is. And she's trying to scramble up. Let's see if we can get her to go back down. Come on. There you go. And she is stubborn as heck. She does not want to move. Alright, I've literally been messing with her for the past, say, 10 minutes, trying to get her to come down, and she is incredibly stubborn. She keeps fighting with me. Sometimes she'll grab the stick and quite literally will hold on to the stick to where I can pick her and the bottle up with the stick. It's hard to believe how strong these critters are. She doesn't want anything to do with that pumpkin. I'm wondering if she doesn't like the texture of it or what, but she just doesn't want to sit on it at all. She just wants to climb to the top of this bottle and hide there, which is what she's done again. There we go. See, she's holding on to the stick and the bottle, and she's not letting go. I just don't want her to come back up on the bottle and come to my hand. Pay me back for all the prodding I'm doing to her. Alright, there you go. There you go. Alright, we got her out. Okay, picture time. But she's probably not going to make this easy on me because she's already moving away. Come on. See if I can get some on this side. And she's creeping along. Oh, there she goes. She just bolted. All right. So now we're in capture mode. Now, one of the things you have to be careful with this species, there's a thing they refer to as teleporting. And that's where a spider will literally jump from one location to another, and it is in a blink of an eye. Because they are incredibly fast. Oh, look at that. Right up the stick. Oh, don't move. All right, I think I've had enough fun for tonight. Time to capture her and put her away. Oh, I can't pass that up. Oh, she moved. All right. Easy enough. Put the lid on. Now we got her. I'm sweating. Whew. I'm still sweating over that HMAC. Once we got her into the enclosure, once we got her into the catch container, she was just all fangs, and she was hot, ready to go. So put her up, put her in her enclosure. She's good to go now. And now I'm going to do another old world species, and this one is the Poecilotheria regalis, and probably the most common of the Poecilotheria species in the hobby. But they're beautiful, beautiful species, and very popular in the hobby. And they do tend to be somewhat defensive, but in my opinion, they're a lot calmer than, say, HMAC or other species, even New World species. I consider the Salmopius erminia or the Venezuelan sun tiger to be a whole lot more defensive than the P. regalis. So I'll bring this one out. More than likely, I'll bring out the cork tube and I'll push it out. I have taken pictures of this one before, and it did comply for a little while, and then it just kind of wanted to crawl around and do its own thing. So they can be a little bit flighty, and they can bolt if they're spooked. But I find that they tend to be a whole lot more calm than people give them credit for. People demonize this species, any of the Poecilotheria species, and it probably because of the toxicity of their venom. But that aside, if you're careful, if you don't put yourself in danger, they're a wonderful species to keep, and they're not as bad as everybody seems to make them out to be. So let me go ahead and get this one out. Probably going to do the same thing. More than likely, because it's in the cork tube, I'll pull out the cork tube and just push it out, and it will probably crawl around here, and I can guide it around to where I need it and get some pictures of it and then put it back up and be good to go. Okay, just like before, I'm going to have some things ready just as precautions. but I don't foresee having to use them, but you never know. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my stick, pull out the cork tube, and yeah, it's inside the cork tube. So if I push on it, hopefully it will come out the other side and crawl onto the pumpkin, which is what I want it to do. Come on. And it's wanting to be stubborn as well. There it goes, coming out the bottom. Come on. Oh, we got a bolt. Yeah. So now I gotta go find it. And it's underneath. It doesn't like the plastic. There you are. Okay. So we're in the area where we want it. Hopefully I can guide it to where I need it. Take the cork tube out. And it's trying to nestle in to the corner there. I'm just going to guide it along. See if I can get it to go toward the pumpkins. There you go, buddy. There you go. Alright, it's moving casually, which is a good thing. Nope, nope, nope. Go that way. Don't bolt. All right. Come on. Come on, come this way. And he's being stubborn. And I'm pretty sure this is a male. I've had a molt from it. It was pretty dried out. I tried to sex it, and it looked like it was male. Just by luck. Come on, I just need you to get on the pumpkin for a little bit, and I'll leave you alone. See the nice pumpkin? No, not that way. No pumpkin over there. Stubborn. There you go. Go up the pumpkin. There you go. Climb on up. Oh, it wants to hide in the crack. Typical. All right. I've got it where I can see it, so I'm going to go ahead and take some pictures. Boy, he just does not want to stay on those pumpkins. All right. Well, that's probably the best I'm going to do because he's being really stubborn and he doesn't want to be on those pumpkins at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and catch him and we're done. Last but not least, I've taken the liberty of already putting her up here. And this is Boehmei, and otherwise known as the Mexican fire leg. And she's pretty close to molt, so her colors are a little bit dull right now. But she's probably one of my favorite species here. New World, and because she's New World, you'll understand why it's easy to get spoiled with New World. She's content to just sit there. I've placed her on there, and there she is sitting, and she's not moving around. She's not trying to bolt or take off or go anywhere. That doesn't mean that she won't if I accidentally breathe a big loud puff of air on her, or if she gets something that spooks her, then she can and will bolt. So you have to be careful, especially when you're lifting them high off the ground. You want to keep them low to the ground because they are not an arboreal species, they don't have that ability to jump very well, so they can injure themselves if they fall from a high location. So I have to be careful with her and make sure that she doesn't bolt, make sure that she doesn't fall to the ground or anything like that. So I'm just going to real quickly take a few pictures of her and put her up, and I'll be done for the night. So like I've said, she's made it very easy for me. She's just chilling. So I can go ahead and snap away, take as many shots as I need to. All right, done deal. As you saw, photographing old world species is not easy at all. The Heteroscodra maculata pictures went a whole lot better than I expected. There was a little bit of bolting that went on, but I still managed to get it to do what I wanted to do, and I got a few pictures of her, and I'll have those pictures forever now because, you know, it's not something that I'm going to do pretty often because it is a stressful thing. I was sweating bullets and it was not hot. And those lights are a little bit hot in there, but most of it was pretty much stress. So yeah, it's a stressful situation. Just mostly the bolting and trying to make sure that you have it under control. You know, I wanted to remain calm, and I did. You know, we were able to capture it, me and my son, and I needed that second pair of hands just so that I could make sure that it didn't bolt off into a direction where I couldn't capture it anymore. So that went pretty well. The Poecilotheria Regalis did not go so well. I actually kind of freaked out a little bit there when it tried to bolt on me and try to climb up the cork tube onto my hand. So yeah, I dropped it and I endangered it, which is one of those risks that you take anytime you pull them out and you mess with them. So I'm not too happy about that. You know, we caught it on video, and that's a little bit embarrassing on my part, but afterward, you know, I regained my composure, we remained calm, and I got it back to where I needed it to be. And, you know, I got a few pictures of it. It did not want to do anything that I wanted it to do. It just avoided the pumpkin completely. And, you know, that's just one of those things. So I snapped a few shots while it was on the substrate. So hopefully those will turn out okay, and I'll enjoy those as well. I've had other P. Regalis that I can try it with. Some of them tend to be a little bit more calm than others. This time it just did not go as planned, as I wanted to. And the very last one, the Boehmei, she is always gentle. She's always calm. Anytime I pull her out, I can get as many pictures of her as I want. So she's probably my biggest model for photography. I take pictures of her all the time because she's always willing to do anything I want. So you get really spoiled when you're dealing with your New World species as opposed to your Old World species. Old World species, of course, will have a tendency to be very defensive and will have a tendency to be skittish and bolt. But that's not with all of them. Some of them tend to be a lot more calm than others. So, you know, it just depends on that particular species. And the same thing goes for New World. You know, you've got some New World species that are very calm and very relaxed. A lot of your bigger species tend to be a little bit more docile and just kind of chill out and don't move so fast. And then you've got some of them that will have a tendency to bolt. So as some of my slings get bigger and I take pictures of them, I'll be dealing with all that too. And hopefully I'll get that on video and share that with you as well. So that's it for my video. And once again, if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Until next time, keep loving them tarantulas.